Have you ever felt this exhausting, heavy need to be absolutely perfect just to mask all your mistakes? Have you ever seen people, other coworkers, feel like they go to this meeting and they talk like there's nothing happening and you agonizing inside, just thinking that you have to talk? To the outside world, you look like the person who has it completely together. You have the packed calendar, the consistent promotions, the flawless presentations. People look at you maybe and see a high achiever, but internally, there is this constant, invisible storm and anxiety. You feel like you're working double time, running on pure adrenaline and urgency, just to meet the exact same standards that everyone else seems to meet effortlessly. If you know that feeling, you aren't alone, and you aren't failing either. What you might be experiencing is the quiet, exhausting reality of the high-functioning ADHD in a world built for linear minds. And today, we need to talk about the heavy toll of that mask and how to finally stop living on empty. Welcome back to Corporate Therapy, the podcast where we bridge the gap between professional strategy and personal well-being. I'm your host, Lucy Paulise. In the corporate world, we often view the ADHD or the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder through a very outdated lens. We think of people with ADHD as disorganized, lack of focus, and always arriving late. But today, I want to talk about a group of professionals who are completely rewriting the script of the ADHD. These are the high performers living with high functioning ADHD. And specifically, the hidden exhausting cost of survival, which is called masking. High functioning ADHD doesn't look like the stereotypes. Many executives and entrepreneurs with this brain wiring are actually the most dynamic people in the room. They thrive under massive, tight deadlines. They bring incredible creative intuition to crisis situations, and they can hyper-focus intensely on complex strategic goals, on things that they are really, really passionate about. But because they are so capable, their exhaustion is completely misunderstood. To keep up with traditional linear corporate expectations, many high achievers become master chameleons. They early on develop a tool called masking, which is internalizing their restlessness as chronic perfectionism. They over-prepare for every single meeting. They stay online hours longer than anyone else. They essentially use a constant drip of stress and adrenaline just to cross the finish line. I deeply understand this environmental friction. Working early in my own career, working in a very structured multinational enterprise, I remember the paralyzing hypervigilance of constantly filtering my thoughts, was always editing my words, terrified I would say something completely out of place, which I did many times, and feeling so nervous every time I had a meeting, simply because my brain didn't process a corporate scenario in the same way. Especially women who are socialized to be highly compliant are organized from a young age to feed a legacy of corporate template. The result isn't just stress, is burnout. To understand why this happens, we have to look at brain chemistry. It all comes down to a chemical called dopamine. Think of dopamine as your brain's natural motivation fuel. It is what helps you start tasks, focus, and cross things off your list. Now, a typical brain has a steady full tank of this fuel. It can cruise through boring emails or routine paperwork on autopilot. But an ADHD brain naturally has less dopamine. It starts the day running on empty, constantly starving for a spark, just to start the engine on. So, how do high achievers artificially create that fuel to be able to finish any task? They shift into sports car mode. If you don't have the dopamine to start a boring project, your brain unconsciously has two ways of getting there. One is looking for a source of dopamine, which could be your Instagram. I also say, well, use a workout. That's also a healthy way to get dopamine. But there's other ways. And many people use this other resource, which is waiting until the absolute last minute to finish that task. That gives them the adrenaline of the deadline coming up. Why? Because the panic of a deadline triggers a massive rush of adrenaline. That adrenaline acts like fake fuel. It forces your powerful engine to rev up, hyper-focused, and pull off a total miracle at the final second. But relying on panic or rush to get through your work is like redlining your sports car engine just to drive down the street. It works for a little while. You can do it sometimes, but eventually you completely blow the engine. You burn out. You cannot be 2 or 3 days without sleeping just to finish all the tasks that you have to do. And where the internal storm gets the absolute most exhausting is when you have to step into the spotlight. Let's talk about public speaking, which is a very, very common problem for these high performers. To the outside world, you might look dynamic, articulate, and completely confident on stage. But internally, the anxiety of speaking in public to many people is paralyzing. Why? Especially if you have ADHD, because the ADHD brain is highly susceptible to something called rejection sensitive dysphoria, or RSD. So when you're experiencing RSD, your nervous system processes single yawn in the audience or minor constructive critic from a peer as a devastating personal failure. So to protect themselves, high performers will spend days over scripting and burning massive amounts of cognitive energy just to survive a 10-minute presentation. Or they will avoid it as much as possible. Or maybe just wait until the last minute to work on it. If this sounds familiar to you, I want you to take a breath. ADHD is not a lack of intelligence, lack of discipline, or capability. It's just fundamentally an issue of regulation, emotional regulation. Your brain doesn't struggle to focus. You can hyper-focus. That's your main strength. But it struggles to regulate focus when a task lacks the emotional or intellectual stimulation. So the question we need to stop asking ourselves is, why can I just do like everyone else? And instead ask, what unique conditions allow my brain to operate at its absolute best? So here I'm going to share a tool, the 45-15 high performance cycle, which is included in my time box book. So this is what you can try. Instead of forcing yourself into linear 8-hour grinds that leave your brain craving dopamine, explicitly time box your day into focused sprints. Set a timer and do high stakes or creative work for 45 minutes or even 30. That's your brain sweet spot. For some people, just 30 is fine. And then take a 15 minutes reset and recharge block. No negotiable. Walk away from the screen. Walk outside, move your body, get a glass of water. You can check your Instagram, but only for 15 minutes. Remember, rest is not a reward for finishing everything. Reset is the literal prerequisite for sustaining your unique brilliance. You need to reset and recharge for your next 45 minutes. So if you are tired of overcompensating and managing the internal chaos alone, remember, you don't have to work harder. You just need to work in alignment with how your brain naturally operates. So if there's a very complex task that you know is going to take a lot of energy and willpower from you to do it, instead of delaying it until the last minute, just see when is your best time of the day to work on it. Normally, if this is the morning, for some people that like to wake up really early, would be 7 a.m. Maybe for you, it's 9 a.m. from 9 to 11. Okay, you can set 2 blocks of 45 minutes to focus on this task. Set the environment so you can hyper-focus, work on it, and you'll be able to finish it on time. Trust me. It's not a matter of you not being able to do it. It's just a matter of finding the right motivation and the right environment so that you can shine at your best. If you want to read the full breakdown of this topic, my latest column on high-functioning ADHD is officially live on Forbes. You can find the link in the description of the podcast, along with the resources in my corporate therapy library, where I include a lot of other podcast episodes, videos, and articles. And if you're ready to go into your next level of leadership with clarity and confidence, let's chat and head over to my website, lucypaulise.com, and book a coaching fit call. Let's chat. And next time, choose curiosity, protect your energy, and remember, work shouldn't drain you. It should help you shine. Try this 45, 15, 10 boxes and see how it helps you shine more. Have a wonderful week. Talk to you next time. And if you enjoyed this episode, remember to share it with other people that may like it as well. Hope to talk to you soon. See you next week.